Okay, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about malignant ligaments. Malignant.
More like malignant.
Yeah, that's the title.
I've made that joke so many times.
You have, and so it's earning the title.
So I'm still mad. We watched this last night, and I'm mad.
You've been really upset.
And I'm not sure why I'm mad. I think I might be mad because I see that there could have been a good movie in here.
Okay, but like I've thought about that many times, and I'm not entirely sure that's true. I'm not entirely sure it's possible.
I'm not sure either. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the movie. We're gonna talk about the plot. There's gonna be spoilers.
No one cares.
You don't care. No one cares about spoilers. If you say you care about spoilers for Malignant, you're fucking lying.
Don't be a bitch about it, man.
I can't remember the main character's name. I think your name was Madison?
Maddie. Madison, and the sister was Sydney. I already took notes on that because I also forgot.
Okay. So, the movie opens on Arkham Asylum outside of Gotham City. And it looks like the intro to a video game. It's a very cool shot for a different movie.
Yeah.
And then
I enjoyed it.
We have a found footage segment where the doctor's taking a video log talking about a crazy case she's working on.
Troubled child.
And she gets rudely interrupted by an orderly or security guard or something saying, "Come now, he's having a moment.
He's risen.
He's being a silly guy.
He's being a silly little goose over there."
And the acting's pretty bad.
No, it's
right?
okay. It's awful. It's awful. It's really not good.
It felt like an early 2000s like low budget horror movie, like Darkness Falls or My Bloody Valentine or something. Yeah. It's so silly.
No, it really did, but then it had like thousands of dollars of cinematic, like beautiful cinematic views.
Yeah.
Like they were genuinely gorgeous. That's the one thing that I will give this movie, the cinematics. They were beautiful. The visuals.
Except for one thing they did with the cameras that was a little annoying.
Well, if they would have kept with it, but okay.
We'll talk about that.
Go on a rant. I'm going to go on a rant.
Okay, and then we have a big, I guess, the hulking out moment inside of the room, and we never see the face of this patient, and they shoot him with a tranquilizer dart, and then it's a child.
Realize it's a kid?
We see little kid socks.
Because we saw its feet.
Don't say feet.
Little footsies, little panda socks.
Let's not draw attention to feet on the internet. Okay. And then I think this is the scene where we see the kid and the voice comes out of the radio. It's like what was that?
Why did that happen?
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Where did it come from?
Why was it like a rubber band sound?
That was awesome.
Wait.
We're going to edit that out. That's why we're recording 2 tracks.
Okay, anyways, so the Gabriel starts talking to them through using a radio and radio waves.
And the security guard's like, "Oh my god, he can speak."
Yeah,
He's talking through his thoughts.
They were very confused. I like that they specified that.
Like, yeah, it's like they're telling the audience he has psychic electro powers. But see, that becomes a problem later because his electro powers are not obviously explained. By the way, spoiler, he has electro powers.
Yeah, for no reason. That's like one of the only superpowers he has.
Okay, and then it's time to cut out the cancer.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, she just dramatically
smash cut to the title drop and the intro credits, which is like a surgery scene that looks like it's like the intro credits were interesting because they kind of reminded me of like Marvel intro credits, but also like horror movie again from 2004.
I think that was my favorite part of the movie. The intro credits scene. Yeah.
Where it's just a bunch of like doctor paperwork.
Yeah. And surgical
and, like,
photos.
Scalpels.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was really fucking with that. And the music that soundtrack banged.
Now, if you thought that scene was hilarious, like I did, just wait. This next scene is extremely funny. Oh, we get introduced to our main character and her abusive husband.
Yep.
Maddie?
Maddie, yes. Derek.
Maddie gets...
I believe.
Derek, right?
I think.
Or whatever. I don't care. Who cares?
We'll call him Derek. It's Derek.
Just Derek. He looks like a Derek.
He looks like a Derek.
She gets home from her double shift at the hospital. She's like a nurse. And she's super prego. 8
months, to be exact.
8 months prego.
Yep.
Which is, because of some things we find out later, that kind of doesn't make sense either.
No, it doesn't.
So she goes up to her abusive husband, and he's like, "Babe, maybe you shouldn't be working when you're pregnant." And then she turns off the TV and says, "No, I'm fine. I just need a nap." And he's like, "Bitch, I was watching that." his personality goes through 5 stages of grief in this scene.
Yeah.
And then he gets physically abusive.
Mm-hmm. Immediately. Like, he goes from, oh no TV, to, okay, die, bitch.
He smashes her head against the drywall, like Kyle style.
Yeah, like, just fucking boink that shit.
It's actually shot really aggressively, like over the top. Like, her head, like, bounces off the wall and she slides down. It's very violent.
Yeah. And then she locks herself in her bedroom while her abusive husband is getting her ice, because that's what all abusive husbands should do.
Yes. You listening? All you married folk out there?
Dating advice 101.
Be sure to ice your wife after you beat her.
Yeah, no.
So she'll be ready for round 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So he's sleeping on the couch downstairs, where they also have a TV, so it's not really clear why he wanted to watch the game upstairs so bad. Or UFC. I think he was watching UFC fights.
He was definitely, which is really funny.
Which explains a lot, actually. Now the whole scene makes sense. So, and this is, mind you, maybe 5 minutes into the movie. He is now sleeping at night, and he gets woken up.
We forgot to mention, this was an important part. Right before he smashes her head into a wall, he blames her for previous miscarriages that she's had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he tells her the other miscarriages
were her because she works too hard.
Or something.
Yeah, and then he smashes her head into a wall, but that's irrelevant. Anyways.
Never mind, it stopped making sense now that you've reminded me of that detail.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the points I wrote down, and I was like, oh, yep, that's why I hate this.
So, okay, he's sleeping on the couch. The kitchen is the next room next to the living room, and the blender goes off for no reason.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, babe, are you making a protein shake?
Getting all big and strong? Getting gains?
So he waddles into the kitchen really slowly. This is a thing that annoys me, because there's no reason for this scene to be shot this way.
Oh my god.
So slow.
Yeah, this kind of followed throughout the whole movie. Every single scene was just unbearably fucking slow.
If they cut off the fat, this movie could have been, I swear, 25 minutes shorter.
Guarantee
just for like slow, pensive scenes of people walking into the next room.
Yeah.
Okay, blender's on. He turns it off. No one's there. Fridge door opens behind him mysteriously. Turns around. No one's there. And this is where it's a ghost movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, these are ghost things.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this shit. We've watched James Wan movies before.
Yeah, of course. We're used to that.
Then, and this is weird, the TV in the living room where he just was turns on really loud. But he doesn't run back into the living room to check it out. He runs around the hallway and takes the long way to get back to the living room.
Yep.
Because from the living room to the kitchen is one archway. Not even a door, just an archway.
Yeah.
But when the TV comes on, despite being in the kitchen one room away, he goes out the other exit of the kitchen into the main hallway.
Yep.
Runs down the hall to the other entrance to the living room near the front door.
Yep.
It felt very awkward to me watching that. I don't know if that's super obvious to everyone.
No, it was. I feel like, because it took away from the smoothness of the scene, and it added more time to the scene itself that shouldn't have been there. It was just so slow. It made it so slow.
And
it was
the
so
reason,
dumb.
You can see the reason, this is what annoys me, is we can see the technical filmmaking reason why they had him do it that way. It's so he could be behind the couch and see the ghostly figure watching TV.
Yeah. They wanted that specific shot.
For the trailer. That was to get a trailer shot.
Because that wasn't even really that... Okay.
Do you have thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, because after he gets to, like, behind the couch, he sees Demon, turns on light, Demon's gone, and then they have a scene where they, like, close-up shot the couch, and it's as if, like, someone stands up and the cushion reinflates itself, but no one's there.
Right.
And then they never talked about that again.
That is mechanically not something that makes sense when we find out what's going on in the movie.
It's not, and I hate that, and that pissed me off, because that preps you for a paranormal adventure story, and we didn't get a paranormal adventure story.
I would say there was something paranormal about it, but they act like there's nothing paranormal about it, is the thing that... We'll get there. That comes later.
We'll get there.
We'll talk about that. Okay, so I can't remember exactly how this happens. He, like, goes into the room and suddenly the shadowy figure grabs him from behind.
Yeah.
And beats him to death.
Like doing acrobatics or something.
It has its arm all bent weird and, like, chokes him out.
Yeah, this all happened in the archway from the living room to the kitchen.
And it's a ruckusy struggle. Like he's fighting back and it makes a noise that wakes up Madison.
Yes.
Upstairs. Madison wakes up, comes downstairs, and sees the body of Derek, his head is like twisted off and like hanging, like nearly Headless Nick style, hanging on by a thread.
It's like backwards. He was backwards, but like his head, just got yoinked just a little bit.
Backwards. Okay, but here's the thing. This is a filmmaking flaw. There is a zoom-in reveal when she sees the body. Like, this is a shocking sight for her to behold. I'm going to jump the gun a little bit. Not 10 minutes later in this movie, they do this same body reveal when the detectives look at the crime scene. Yeah. But they don't show the body. They zoom in on the detective's face. It's as if they shot these scenes backwards. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Okay, anyway, shadowy figure appears, chases her around the house. She runs up into the upstairs bedroom.
Yeah, upstairs bedroom. She was like, they were having a fight on trying to slam the door, and then it was opening it.
Yeah, she like slams the door behind herself, and then it slams against the door, the shadowy figure, and
and then it knocks the door off the fucking hinges and flies her into a wall.
Yeah, it's like a breaching charge goes off and launches her across the room, where she receives her second head injury in 10 minutes of movie. Just knocking herself out on the floor.
Yep.
And now we have fade to black. Detectives are showing up. There's a police cordon all around the house. And we get to introduce to our cop characters.
Shaw and Moss, the detectives.
Who plays Detective Coco.
Yeah.
Kakua?
Kakua. It was Kakua Shaw.
Is that actually how it's pronounced? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Kakua.
I actually liked him.
No, he was probably my favorite character.
And we immediately get, I wouldn't say a super interesting dynamic, but there is some personality to these characters. It's him, his partner, who's like sassy black woman, like black ant, and she's got a lot of sass, and she thinks everyone's kind of being a bunch of nonsense.
Yep.
And the forensics operator, or rather the forensics detective, who is this young girl who's simping over hot Asian detective man.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually like all these characters, and I think their dynamic is excellent.
No, they were great. Moss and Shaw, they were fabulous. They were funny. That was actually entertaining. They had comments to give. The conversations were fulfilling. I appreciated them.
Yeah.
Can you hear the sprinklers going off?
I can. And are they showing up in your waveform?
Not that I can tell, but we'll find out later.
I'm going to say that the forensics girl simping over detective man leads to one of the funniest scenes in the movie, but I don't know if anybody watching this movie in passing actually noticed this scene. And I don't even know if it was on purpose. We'll get there. Remind me, because you know what scene I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
So what happens after this? I think the next thing that happens after the detectives investigate the area. Then
she wakes up in the hospital bed. We cut back to our main character, Madison. She's sitting there with her sister, Sydney.
Who I like a lot.
I did like Sydney. Sydney was a really good character. She was better than Madison. I was actually very disappointed by Maddie because she had so much backstory. She could have been so much better.
One thing I heard people saying about this movie is that Madison was the better actor, and I think that's true, but I also think she had the least amount of personality.
Yeah, it definitely was not her acting fault. She was a fantastic actress. It was definitely writing, and you can see it.
Yeah, all the goofy, cheesy acting is with the doctors when we go to those flashback segments at Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, they were really the worst. Everyone else was honestly not that bad. That was not one of the quirks I had with the movie. Thank God, because if the actors were bad, I don't know if I could have sat through that. Yeah,
that's a good point. So she's cuddling. She's going to move in to take care of her sister while she's recovering from
and she realized she lost the baby.
Yes,
that was
where she loses the baby.
Yeah, she wakes up, realizes she lost the baby, and then it sends her into like a shock.
Yeah, she gets real sad.
And then she gets interviewed by the detective. And we have our first little cute love scene with Sydney, the sister, and the detective, which was adorable. Yes. They're flirting.
Was there an implication? Because Sydney has done like modeling and acting in her characters. Yeah. Was there an implication the detective kind of recognized her from something?
I'm not sure, but that's very plausible. Because they had something. They had something going on. There's a lot of implications with their relationship.
Their implied situationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the movie doesn't really ever expand on that. It's just happening, which is one thing I kind of like.
Yeah, no, it felt like there was just a little unknown part going on behind the scenes, and I appreciated it very much.
Or making out in the janitor's closet of the hospital.
Oh, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah,
I'd take that opportunity. Oh, and then she also... Wait, we might not be there yet. What happens after?
So the next thing, she goes home, and then I think this night she has her first sleep paralysis episode.
Yeah, and she tells Sydney that she was adopted.
Yes.
That was the reveal.
That's a weird scene. The scene
it was.
Is blocked out and scripted and paced so strangely because Sydney's like just being a cute little younger sister caring for her older sister, and her older sister's like, by the way, I'm adopted.
Yeah. She completely like writes her off too. She's like the one-liner of, I just was so excited to have the baby because I wanted a loved one that I was purely blood with, and it's like, damn.
Yeah. I don't know much about it being adopted.
You're not an expert.
Thought, you know, the blood in the cup is thicker than water of the womb or something when you have an adopted sibling. That probably is a big part of your life.
Yeah.
You really understand a non-blood bond.
Yeah, I don't really... That
was not handled in a mature way by the writers, I don't think.
No, it was not.
There was a lot of, like, pretty mature themes going on, like miscarriages were happening and domestic abuse was happening.
Yeah,
and the movie
it was so
gets
casual.
So silly and treats it so flippantly that it's like, if it was a different kind of movie that could work, but not for this.
Because it was so casually mentioned, but they were also trying to make it like hit home, and it fucking didn't.
It didn't, because I didn't know any of these characters, and it was like watching kind of cartoon caricatures.
Yeah, definitely.
Go through trauma, and anyway,
it just didn't really make sense. So she's adopted.
I'm adopted. Yes.
You're adopted.
I'm adopted. Hard cut. Wakes up in the middle of the night. Sleep paralysis. She like gets frozen to the floor of her kitchen, and then the room melts away, and she witnesses a vision of a murder.
Yes.
In her laundry room.
It was something like that. Yeah.
And this is where we get the weapon. The weapon that the movie really wanted to make a symbol.
Yeah.
So the shadowy figure grabs it's a trophy or an award for world's best surgeon or something.
Yeah, it was reconstructive surgeon.
And it's a golden sword with the medical serpents wrapped around it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the name of that symbolism. I don't remember the iconic... I'm going to actually look it up. Dr. Symbol. Caduceus.
Caduceus.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Probably not.
Kəʻdjuːʃəs?
That's... Okay, I feel like you're getting further.
Okay, I'm going to actually just look up. Here, let's have Google tell me. Where's the Google?
You lose Google?
The Google speech thing is not on.
Just use your phone.
Where is my phone?
Do you need me to use my phone?
No, I can do it.
Doctor, I spelled Cockter.
There it is. Here we go. Wait.
kə'djuːʃəs.
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 What?
kə'djuːʃəs.
Kə'djuːʃəs.
Rod of caduceus? Asclepius?
Caduceus is a staff carried by Hermes in Greek mythology.
Anyways,
he takes that. It's a trophy.
Takes the staff of healing.
The caduceus trophy. And smacks her in the face a whole bunch of times with it.
Whole bunch of times.
And then I think this is really where we get a sense of what this movie is.
Because... Ooh.
Do you have thoughts about this?
First time seeing it, this did make me excited for the rest of the movie. This was like one of the... That was... The rest of the movie was a shit show, and then we got to this scene, and I was like, okay, this is kind of silly, because the way they did the gore, it was all SFX, it was the camera was like, kind of 0.5 lensed, and that's another thing that will continue on throughout various shots in the movie. The blood, like, splattered onto the camera, and it was very, like, cartoon-esque and silly.
Blood, it was like thick 3D blood particles, like jelly particles coming out of her. And it was shot in a way so that they were like flying at the camera, and it looks like it was an ad for a 3D television.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, okay, so now I understand the kind of movie we're in for. And it is true. This does set the tone for what we're going to get.
Yeah.
But this sort of thing does not happen enough in the movie
No.
to ride that out. Like if it wanted to be the violent murder ghost movie with crazy blood effects, crazy CG blood effects.
Yeah.
There's no practical effects in this movie.
Yeah, there was no real blood anywhere within this. This was all CG.
So that could have been fine, but it's not really what the movie becomes. Just when there's a murder, this is kind of what it looks like. And so
yeah.
he's like hammering her face in and blood splattering everywhere. And the camera's like doing a realistic found footage, like camera shake thing, I'm pretty sure. And like the sounds are really guttural and meaty.
Mm-hmm. It's very aggressive.
And then Madison shoots out of bed screaming. And she's like, I witnessed a murder in my sleep.
Oh, and we get a scene. This happened either before that
this was
one or
before
after.
the tour guide.
Yeah,
this was
the
right
killer.
before.
There's a woman, it shows, giving underground tours of Seattle in the little catacombs, and then our killer pops up and kidnaps this woman.
Yeah.
And hangs her into what looks like almost a clock tower.
Yeah.
It's an attic.
It's like an industrial factory with a slow spinning ventilation fan.
Yeah, it looks like...
It's an A-framed roof.
Yeah.
So the room is shaped like the attic of a house with a narrow ceiling, and then there's a big industrial fan at the end of this room that makes no sense.
Just tied up on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up on the ceiling.
So
I think that happened before.
Yes, that was right before this scene. I think that was after the I'm adopted scene.
Yeah.
Okay. That's important because that's also the first scene where we see our killer get their outfit.
Yeah, and that was their little workshop.
Why?
So our killer is now taking hostages and becoming a smith.
And also cosplaying as Blade.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure where the trench coat, the black leather, like Nazi trench coat that he wears comes from. It's just in the attic.
I have no idea. I think so. He just picked it up. Just thrifted it, you know.
It's kind of something that annoys me because the outfit seems like it's more about the mechanics of hiding what the killer looks like than being like story relevant.
And it definitely is. It definitely is. And they just wanted to get cool, dark shots.
I will admit, some of the shots did look pretty cool.
They did look pretty cool. Once again, can't knock on the cinematography. It was kind of sick. Oh.
Okay, so now let's kind of fast. Oh.
Choo-choo train. We're getting interrupted. By,
you think that's in the mic? Okay, so now let's kind of speed up the story because everything from here on out is very like nothing
doesn't
happens.
Matter. Nothing matters here.
Just like the same scenes we've described happening over and over.
Yeah, it literally doesn't matter. The biggest thing is the detective Shaw found a picture of Madison in the victim's house. The woman who
they go through
the
first doctor woman who gets murdered. They find all her files. And Madison,
yeah, and they find out.
Did they have her real name? Is that when they find out her name?
Yeah,
Emily.
I believe so. Because then the sisters go to the police and tell them that she's having these visions.
Right.
Then
the second guy dies. She's like laying in bed. She sees the guy in bed next to her, and then the room melts away, and she sees the second death. Cool.
She knows what's happening, and then the killer reveals himself.
The killer is now sharpening the trophy into a knife and using that to do the killings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's its specific tool. It's a weapon of choice, and the killer does reveal itself to Madison. Its name is Gabriel. Yeah. And that's as far as we don't know anything about him so far, other than it's the same killer from the beginning Batman scene.
And he's really mad. He's constantly angry.
Yeah, he's pissed off. Homie is peeved.
That's like kind of his only personality trait.
He's just a pissy little baby back bitch.
Okay, so it turns out all the doctors who are being killed were doctors from that first hospital scene in the Batman world. Yeah. That we witnessed at Arkham Asylum. Everything that happens here on is predictable except for the big reveal. I don't think the big reveal is predictable.
No, it was.
I think you could put pieces of it together, but not what it actually is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be hard even to put the pieces together because they're all just kind of jumbled up messes. But yeah.
Okay, so let's say where would we be now? After the last doctor dies, the third one in the bathtub.
Then they believe her.
Well, the police officer, Mr. Kakoa, he shows up.
Yeah.
While the killer is still there, and they have an epic chase scene.
That's when he finally believes that Madison is in fact not insane, and that there is a killer happening. and murdering all these people.
Well, no,
Yeah, there's
this is before that.
Is it?
Yeah, because they haven't taken Madison into custody.
Oh, that's true. But that was okay. Honestly, though, they went back and forth with him believing her and him not believing her a lot. And even at the end of the movie, there was not there was never a final decision.
Well, okay. So this is where the movie starts to contradict itself a little bit. Okay, so he chases Gabriel all through the city.
Yep.
This scene is so funny. So Gabriel is doing Spider-Man flips down the outside of a fire escape.
Yeah.
The detective is chasing him, and he gets to the lowest level of the fire escape, where Gabriel does a sick kick flip, lands
where there's a ladder. There's a ladder.
Yes.
Just saying.
So Gabriel's getting away on the street. Detective Man is on the fire escape next to the ladder that he could unlatch and drop. But he chooses to hoist himself over the railing and jump rib first into a dumpster.
10 feet. 10 feet. And he doesn't even hit. The dumpster wasn't open. He just bounces off of it and onto the
off the rim and then onto the ground.
And then gets back up.
Okay, so let me ask you this. During this scene, could you make out the form of Gabriel? Because the movement's very weird.
Yeah, it was always jerky, and it looked weird, and it looked paranormal. I was still running with I still thought it was a paranormal movie, because they were also hinting at that up until, the very last bit, which were almost...
Okay, yes, but as soon as you're having, a fist fight with a ghost, and now it's running through the streets of Seattle away from your gunshots, it's like...
Yeah,
it's not a ghost anymore.
It's a real person. I think after it left... The chasing continued after, he fell off the fire escape. Then I was like, okay, this is...
Yeah, and then it gets weird because he chases Gabriel into the under streets of Seattle. And we get to an abandoned Tim Burton movie set?
Yeah, pretty much.
What is that room? That they
40s
have their
carriages?
Yeah, there's horse carriages from the early, 20th century.
Yeah. And then just a bunch of random, mementos and valuables, all from 20th century still.
These look like props from, an Insidious scene in the Otherworld.
Yeah, they do.
Also, there's a weird, mysterious fog on the ground. This whole scene is shot like an Insidious Otherworld scene.
Yeah, the whole scene is shot like a Resident Evil
video.
I will say, this movie, it kind of did remind me of Resident Evil.
Really?
In a really weird way. I think it was because it was so outlandish and kind of everywhere. I was like, no, this could be a Resident Evil game.
Not like it was taking inspiration from Resident Evil, but the style of storytelling.
Yeah, and the way the cinematics were happening, I still think it was very video gamey. Because in this specific scene, when they were in that underground tunnel with all the horse carriages, they kept doing shots of the detective, and it looked like what you would see in a third-person video game.
Yeah.
And the lens was kind of like that too.
Was this a fisheye lens in this shot? I don't remember.
I believe there was.
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, I remember noticing the corners bending in a little bit.
It was so slight to the point where you could barely even tell, but then when you look at it long enough, you can see it.
I wonder if that's indicative of them just having very small sets to work on, and they wanted to make them seem as big as possible.
I kind of think it might be. Because I feel like they were trying to do so much with what they were working with, and it ended up being too much. Which is crazy, because they had a $40 million budget. That's insane.
Was it actually 40 mil?
It was, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll read the stats after we're done.
Okay, so chase scene. I cannot remember how this chase scene bleeds into... what is it? She goes to see her mom. I think because the name Gabriel starts coming up.
Yeah, because Gabriel called her, and she didn't know who it was, and then she says, Gabriel, no. And she was like, what the fuck? Why did I know what its name was? So her and Sydney go to her mom's house, and she's like, who's Gabriel? And then there's a really, dramatic scene where they zoom in on the mom's face, and she's all starstruck and terrified.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure
that name in 45 years.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then they have the little scene where...
The birthday video.
Yeah. What went down in that scene?
So I remember this, they're doing the birthday cake. This is in the trailer, I think. And while they're singing happy birthday to little young, she would have been...
Madison.
8?
She was 9, turning 9.
She was 9. And she like is whispering to like someone who's not there. And she says the
that
name
was
Gabriel when they ask who she's talking to, right? Which
Yeah.
is kind of would be a chilling reveal, but I just wasn't feeling the movie at this point.
Yeah, I think that idea was good. The reveals were not bad.
This is one of the things I think I've noticed about James Wan's style of filmmaking is he's really into these milestone moments and making them as good as possible, but stringing them together with connective tissue is something I think he struggles with.
Yeah, it feels like he has too many milestone moments. Like there's too many
Yes.
plot points that he's trying to like grasp onto.
In this movie especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So they have the scene with the birthday party and Gabriel gets revealed and she's like, then it gets explained that
Okay, was something
this was a continuous theme.
happening? This was happening, but while this scene where they're at Mom's ranch, they're watching the birthday VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
Was there something else going on with the detective that kept cutting to?
I think that might have been what was happening while he was having this chase scene.
No. That couldn't have been because of the thing.
Oh, then yeah, I have no idea. I feel like
Was he finding out that she was adopted and she was a patient? Is this when he found that out?
that might have been. It's so fuzzy. Oh my god, that's insane.
And when did the hypnotist
I'm not sure.
scene happen?
That's after this.
That's right after this. I remember the hypnotism scene. I don't remember what they found out from it.
I'll
But-
read the thing for when we get there.
Well,
yeah.
let's talk. Okay, so the VHS tape. They go back. I have all these memories that I don't have access to. I can't remember Gabriel,
Yeah.
but there's footage of me talking to Gabriel, so we need to get these memories out of me. We work with.
And her-
this is verbatim. I'm pretty sure this is like exactly what they say. We work with a hypnotherapist. They help us deal with lost memories. Sexual assault and PTSD.
Yeah, no, that
And
was
I'm
it.
like, why the fuck would you say that?
Yeah, it was the most aggressive it's like, why?
It's
Excuse
just
me?
a weird sentence. It took me completely aback.
There was no reason for it too. Like there was no reason to add that second part. You could have just stopped at the hypnotherapy. We know what a hypnotherapist does. You don't have to bring up the traumatic shit.
It's like they were trying to validate it by referencing like Law and Order SVU or something.
Yeah, it felt so stiff too, and like it didn't need to be. That was just funny. That made me giggle. That was so unneeded.
I was actually laughing out loud at that line.
Yeah,
I
that was
thought it
funny.
just-
Which I will say, at most of like the quote unquote fucked up parts throughout this movie, I was laughing.
oh yeah,
They were not.
no the whole
They were
the
so
whole,
silly.
The whole movie is sprinkled with very funny scenes, but are not funny
It's
on purpose.
just so silly. No, not at all, and you can tell.
Let's see. So they do the hypnotherapy, and she goes back in her mind and unlocks. I think this is the night of the birthday where she gets grounded.
That was on her mom's. That was her mom's birthday, or it was a wedding reveal or something.
Was it
No, it was a
different birthday
'Cause she was
She
pregnant.
fucked up the cake.
Yeah.
That's why she was getting grounded.
Yeah, I remember that because the mom was pregnant with her sister at
With
that
Sydney.
time, and
Okay, I wasn't clear.
that was a gender reveal cake.
I wasn't.
That was a gender reveal cake.
Oh, right. They didn't have those
'Cause it
in
said-
1993.
So it just said congratulations,
1990.
baby girl. I'm pretty sure it was something like congratulations, baby, or something.
Yeah, which I was actually not clear on that the mom was pregnant with Sydney at this moment. I didn't realize that connection because it wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't have a sense of where I was at this moment in the story. They didn't, okay, you know what an establishing shot is, right? When you show the outside of the house that's much bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't have an establishing shot for where these characters were in their life story to care about this.
No, they just plopped you in. And they did that with everything. They had no establishing shot or establishment of anything.
Of any plot points. Things would just kind of happen.
It was all just a jumbled mess.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who felt that way. Because
It felt like a dice was being rolled with the events.
It's
completely.
Literally, that's exactly a good way to describe it. It's like they wrote plot points on a dice and then rolled it to decide what they were going to put in that scene.
Which I think is why it feels like a video game to me too.
Yes,
because
that
it
kind
feels
of writing.
it feels very randomized. It feels like we're just watching a story unfold that like could go 60 million different ways, and it's just randomly going this way.
It's not crafted. It's just pulled together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Yeah, so this is where we find out that I guess Gabriel has mind powers and can control Madison's perceptions.
Yeah, after that whole birthday cake scene, because Gabriel took a lick of icing out of the cake, and then her parents were pissed off, because how dare you take some
You're not going to lick that icing. You don't ever lick the icing off the cake. You take a whole slice. Spoiled little child. Gabriel wakes her up in the middle of the night when she's crying. No, she wasn't woken up. She was just sitting in her room sobbing. She was sitting at her office desk in the middle of her room. That
sobbing.
Fucking shot put me over the edge. It was so funny.
It was so, she has her bed, and then not even a foot away, right in the middle of the room, there's just her desk.
Facing the door.
Just complete. It was so wrong, and it looked so awful.
She's like,
it was terrible.
The light is behind her, like she's the CEO of Fisher Price or something. And there's
it made no sense.
Princess bed on the right, flanking her. On the other side is her dresser.
Yep. Yeah, and then just a big ass dollhouse.
I've got to take a screenshot of that scene and put it.
Yeah,
here.
You need to.
It's so funny.
There's so many silly scenes.
And then.
Yeah.
She's standing, she's brooding, right, over her desk, and then
and Gabriel calls her
on her toy phone. This keeps happening. This is actually kind of a cool idea.
That's the only reason they gave him electromagnetic powers, was for the toy phone. I guarantee it.
So there is a trope in some paranormal movies and ghost movies of the white noise ghost, where you can pick up the ghost on the radio on the spirit box. In white noise.
Yeah, that's how paranormal.
I don't understand why they had to use that element at all in this movie, because it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's a cool image.
Doesn't. It's just fun, I guess. Once again, the video game thing. It doesn't make sense. It's just there for fun, for shits and gigs.
Let me ask you this. Why is it not okay for them to do the talking to the ghost on the phone, the toy phone thing here, but in a movie like The Black Phone, it works pretty well?
Because they actually made that a point in the movie. Here, this was just felt thrown in. It didn't feel purposeful. And it also wasn't utilized enough.
I don't know that we're going to do an episode talking about the Black Phone, but there really isn't a plot relevance to the phone itself in the Black Phone. It is just the medium by which the ghosts are able to communicate, but we don't really know why.
Yeah. We can guess why, because it's, a theme in other paranormal movies, so we would hope.
But that's why it is happening in this movie. And that's also why it's bad.
Okay, we haven't gotten to the reveal, though. We haven't gotten to the reveal to why this won't
No, I think
make
it's
sense.
okay, because there is no reveal for this one plot point, really.
Yeah, exactly. Because Gabriel shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Unless I have a theory. We'll get to it. I have two theories.
Anyways.
One of them is really stupid. The other one's also stupid.
Okay, so the hypnotherapy, and then she's talking to Gabriel on the phone, and you can't hear Gabriel, but you can hear her talking to someone.
And she's like,
and then next scene,
a nice surprise, right?
Yeah, she's talking to him, and she stops crying. She's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Next scene, she's standing over the gendered baby cake thing with a knife.
Yeah.
And she's about to cut into it, and you hear Gabriel talking and being like, just a slice. It's a slice of cake for mom. And then the scene fades away, and she's standing over her mother's pregnant belly with the knife, and her mom is like, ah!
Okay. So, good reveal. Here's what I don't understand about this scene. The room melts away in the same way it has when she's had her sleep paralysis episodes whenever a doctor dies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why did Gabriel's control of her perception fail here?
That's what I want to know, too. Why, there's no... That didn't make any sense. It could be possible.
Is this the moment when we're supposed to find out Gabriel's controlling what she can see? I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. But it wasn't really that out there. It kind of just made her seem crazy, which they were trying to do, I think.
Okay, so the scene melts away. It's actually her mother. We don't know why she suddenly is seen. This is just a reveal moment, but it doesn't make sense in the lore. Because Gabriel,
no, it doesn't. So
if he can control what she sees without limits, we don't know what the limits of that power are. There are none, as far as we know.
Yeah,
it just
all we know is
conveniently here before he forced her to kill the fetus baby.
Apparently.
Okay, so she's freaking out. She starts screaming in the actual present where she's undergoing hypnotherapy. The hypnotist wakes her up. As they're leaving, we cut to the woman who is tied to the ceiling of the industrial factory fan room.
Yeah.
She gets her hands on a letter opener and cuts her bonds, and she falls to the ground. She's not tied to the ceiling. She falls to the ground. She starts walking around, steps on a bad board.
One step.
Falls through the floor.
One step. Yeah.
And she lands in the living room of the house where the hypnotherapy is happening.
Which is Madison's house.
Which is Madison's house, yes.
She just
This is the moment
right
when everyone
floor.
thinks Madison is Gabriel.
Yeah. And she's lying about it. And she's crazy.
I thought this was so ridiculous.
I didn't think that. I'm going to be honest. Like, that crossed my mind, and then I was like, no.
Well,
no, that'd be too silly.
My immediate, like, earlier in the movie?
I did think that it's possible that it could have just been Madison the whole time, like, being insane, and that Gabriel didn't exist.
I had...
Or at least it didn't exist in the proportions that she was saying. But we still haven't gotten to the rest. I'll explain more when we get to the rest of the plot, because...
Okay, so when this happened, when she falls through the ceiling and lands in the living room, I just thought this scene was really funny and really crazy. Like, this is such a ridiculous concept for she's been in the attic the whole time, but I'm like, hasn't Gabriel been, like, grinding metal and banging pots and pans together up there for at least 3 or 4 days now?
He's been dead ass and been blacksmithing.
Yeah. Like, there's a scene where she's trying to escape from the ceiling where she's tied up while Gabriel's in the room, and he, like, throws the dagger so hard that it pierces, like, beams of wood next to her head. I'm like, that's super loud. That was in the house the whole time?
She just didn't hear shit.
Which, there's been multiple people in this house now. In fact, there's only been a single night when it was just Madison in the house.
Yeah. No, like, no matter what, Sydney or Madison or detective, because they probably also had cops there at one point or something.
Yes, frequently.
Yeah, someone should have heard something. Because it was also daytime when most of this was going on, because the window, you could see. It was daytime.
No, that was just the industrial lighting. The industrial spotlight behind the fan.
They're literally just in a fucking clock tower.
It felt like it. Which, hey, that's another thing. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that's really going for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it means to the realistic storytelling that they kind of are playing with.
That was really all they were focusing on, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, so they arrest Madison. They're like, okay, you had a woman in your attic. Care to explain? And
she just...
And this is a moment. She's in the interrogation room, and they're like, are you the baddie? And we're like, okay, well, that sucks. Everyone thinks it's her.
Yeah.
And then 3 seconds goes by, and then her iPhone rings. The detectives.
Yeah.
Sassy detectives.
No, first.
iPhone rings.
First, the lights all go out. She screams, I'm not the... Why don't you believe me?
Yeah,
Oh, it was like I didn't fucking lie or something. And then all the lights behind her just go out at once.
Which, I'll get to why that's weird in a second.
Yeah. And then, sassy little moss cop.
Yeah, sassy cop.
The girl queen.
Yes, sassy girl boss cop gets a phone call from an unknown number on her phone. Answers it. And whoopsie-doo, it's Gabriel being mad. And he's like, just... being mean to the cops, like bullying them.
He's just pissed off. Yeah, he's just angry. He's like, you give me back my dagger. She didn't do it.
You have my stuff and I want it back.
You have my things.
Which
I'm not done with her, blah, blah, blah.
And then makes no sense because Gabriel gains nothing by revealing himself to the cops and threatening them.
Just wanted her to have the one scene where she looked at, he was like, ask her what she used to call me, and she like looks up and is like, the devil, and then that's the end of the scene.
Yes.
And I guarantee that's all they wanted.
Yes. For the trailer.
Yeah.
That's not the version of that line they used in the trailer.
No, it's not, but it was still in the trailer.
Yeah. Feeling like there's a lot of shots in this movie that are just for the trailer.
Yeah, me too. Feels like I got clickbaited a little bit.
So, okay. Now, here's the thing where it gets weird, because the next scene is her being led into the group prison cell for, like, overnighters, right?
Yeah.
Why is she even put in there if they just literally got a phone call that revealed she was innocent?
Yeah, I don't know. That made absolutely no sense to me. I could not tell you.
You think she'd be like handcuffed to a chair in the detective's office for
Yeah,
her own safety because
exactly.
someone out there wants her dead? On the phone,
Yeah, exactly.
they just
I don't know.
threatened everyone.
But instead, they put her in a cell with like a regular just Seattle jail cell with like 30 other bitches.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
A bunch of
What?
girl bosses. A whole room
Yeah, a
of them.
bunch, lots, whole room of girl queens.
Oh my god, so much slay.
And then after that scene, wasn't it the scene where Sydney goes to the hospital?
Maybe this is the funniest
the
scene
Harry
in the movie.
Potter hospital.
Yes, so she's driving along the cliff side and there's a river on one side, cliff on the other, typical Pacific Northwest sites. And you see the Arkham Asylum, the giant cartoonishly comic book sized asylum with on riverfront property.
And it's in daytime. Like, it is midday. It is like 12 in the afternoon when they have this shot. And then when she gets there, it's like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense.
No, it is.
It wasn't sunset. It was like midday. And then all of a sudden, she gets to
long,
Arkham.
winding road.
That long?
Yeah.
6 hours long?
It could be. It's Seattle.
I believe it.
The traffic is killer.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. So literally, so true.
So she pulls up to the parking space that is approximately 4 inches from the cliff. She parks so close to that cliff.
And it was so aggressive too. Like, she barely slowed down. It was like it's just going, and then all of a sudden, like, brake checks.
And then she gets out of the car and like walks right up to the cliff. Like, if she took one step forward, she would have fallen to her death.
Yeah.
Crazy driver.
Yep.
And then she sneaks in and finds all the files in the world.
Yeah, literally everything.
Including
like,
VHS tapes.
Every single file.
And she finds the VHS tapes that the movie opened with being filmed by that first doctor.
Yes. First box she opened.
She was really good at filing. Perfect investigator.
Yeah.
She explains why she has such good chemistry with Mr. Cop.
Exactly.
And she's hearing like strange like footstep noises in the dark halls of the asylum. And she gets scared, grabs the whole box and runs all the way home to to Mom's ranch, where we saw the first VHS tapes from the birthday party.
Yeah. She also, it gets revealed that she had a young mumsy.
Yes, she had a very young
mumsy.
Okay, wait, let's back up, because I don't know if you noticed this. Okay, we see Madison in the jail cell with all the prostitute women and the drug dealers.
Yeah.
We cut to Sydney sneaking through files at the asylum. Cut back to Madison for a second. Cut to Sydney. She finds the VHS tapes. Yeah. Takes the VHS tapes. She puts them into the VCR at Mom's house. Yeah. So she drove all the way back to the ranch, which, as far as we know, is a few hours away. But when it cuts back to Madison, no time has passed. She's been in the jail cell for maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was part of the reason the sun going down, like the night scene, actually like fucking bothered me. Because none of the timing made sense for this. And they like made a point of how far away this place was from where they are.
And they made a point that these events are happening at the same time. The editing is designed to make it seem like these are happening at the same time.
And they had phone calls with like each other going on. It's just none of the timing makes sense. Everything's all jumbled.
That's just weak editing, I think. I think that's a poor sense of timing and editing. That's all it is.
Yeah. It definitely is.
So they watch the VHS tape where they slowly reveal that Gabriel, the patient, and Emily, the patient, were the same physical person, but Gabriel was a parasitic twin lodged in her back.
Yeah, it got absorbed in the womb. Also, I don't know if we said it before, but Emily and Maddie are in fact the same person.
Yeah, we did mention that.
Okay. Yeah, she has a 15-year-old biological mother.
Yes, her biological mother,
who had to give
15, gave her up because of the demon child that was attached to her back.
Her Christian or Catholic mom was like, "That's an abomination," and made her.
And she was
to be
right.
fair, that I would do the same thing.
And they don't reveal this clearly, but I think we're supposed to understand that the 15-year-old mom of Gabriel and Emily is the woman who was tied up in the attic.
Yeah.
That wasn't obvious to me until they said it right to my face, but they said it in a way that it wasn't the reveal. Like the reveal happened before they said it, but I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because This is something I've been noticing about these kinds of movies. And me, personally, this could be a me thing. I can watch them completely sober, but I will not feel sober when the movie starts doing these things to me.
Yeah, because it mind fucks you a little bit. You get a little confused.
I feel like I'm looking through drunk goggles at the movie, trying to understand what's going on, because it's so loosely put together.
Yeah, because you kind of are. You have to do a lot more because it doesn't follow any of the regular scripts that you're used to for this genre of movie. Because it's just taking from its fucking ass. None of it made sense.
I think up until now, most things have made sense because we didn't know what the reveal was of Gabriel being a parasite person.
Yeah, that's fair.
Physically attached
a parasite
to
demon.
Yeah, so this is why the herky-jerky movement, every time we've seen Gabriel, has been a thing, because it's Madison walking backwards.
Yeah, because it's stuffed into her cranium. They were able to remove the body, and then they just fucking shoved the head back in.
Yeah, so they cut his little T-Rex arms off of her back.
Yeah.
And then they open up her skull, and they push his face, like, into her skull and close it up.
Yeah.
And
I don't think that's how you do that.
That was very funny to me.
I don't think that's how that works.
It's like, just stuff the problem back in there and
they really just pushed it back in. And then placed the skull over. I'm like, guys,
And they make a point of saying that they share a brain, which is why he can control what she sees. That's interesting.
But that also didn't make sense, because why are you, how is the brain, where'd you get the other piece of the brain that you put back on once you shoved him in there?
Yeah, so I think the idea is it's like two souls in one brain, if that makes sense. There's some element of paranormal thing happening here that they don't describe, because they act like it's a freak, like natural happenstance that created this
freak of
thing,
nature.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a medical anomaly. But the body they inhabit, Madison's body and Gabriel's body, it's like a superhero.
Yeah. Because it's really strong. It can do acrobatics.
Crazy strong,
that was proven
jumping crazy
from before.
far.
And for some reason can communicate through electricity, which doesn't fucking make sense. And now that we did this reveal, I'm gonna go on a rant, because I mentioned in the beginning there was that scene where the abusive husband was looking at the couch and then the cushions fluffed back up as if something invisible had sat up. Why was that there? That made absolutely no sense if it wasn't a paranormal movie, because doesn't work.
The lights, here's what happened. The lights went off, okay, and then by the time he turned the lights back on, Gabriel ran away really fast, so fast that the couch cushions couldn't inflate themselves from the pressure coming off them.
Which would have made sense if they didn't have, like, a 5-second scene of looking at him and then the couch cushion happening, because it made it seem like it was still there.
Yeah, so the timing of that scene, I think, is just edited wrong.
Yeah,
Literally
which
just
goes
wrong.
back to the editing. The editing, it just made it not cohesive, because that part alone, that doesn't make sense.
You're right. I agree.
It would piss me off. I got upset about that.
But I also, maybe it's genius. Well, it's not genius, but
it's definitely not genius.
Maybe there's an element of thought in that, because the couch cushion reinflating is like, well, there was something physical there. It's not a ghost.
Yeah.
It's not, this incorporeal being.
Electricity.
But that's the kind of same thing you would see in a ghost movie, so I don't know.
Yeah, it is. That's a classic ghost thing. Like, it's invisible, but it's still physically there. That's why it can throw shit around and do little poltergeists and, whack you, slap you around a little bit.
And that's my first theory, is that the body of that Madison and Gabriel share is like a superhero's body with powers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thought process maybe the writers had. The other theory for where the electricity powers come from is that he got zapped really hard when they were trying to do electroshock therapy to his brain, which was also her brain.
Get rid of the cancer.
But if they knew they shared a brain, why were they electroshock therapying his head?
Yeah, that was my question. And she didn't have any consequence of this, only Gabriel did. Like, if they're sharing the same brain, you would think that she would have seen something.
Yes. And then, okay, so they're sharing a brain. Gabriel was literally living in her skull. And when the abusive husband gave her the old smackdown, it woke him up.
Yeah,
it woke up Gabriel.
The crack open.
So the first thing Gabriel does, and a few hours after being awoken from a 30-year slumber, is that he kills the husband.
Yeah, honestly, a king for that.
Okay, but if and they say this in the movie several times. I'm not going to get into the next thing that happens because we all know what happens next, and it's ridiculous. And I don't think it's actually worth watching the movie. Don't watch this movie. We need to stop giving
watch this
James
movie.
Wan money.
Please don't watch this movie, whatever you do.
If I describe the next thing that happens in this movie, you're going to think, wow, that sounds cool. I should watch it. I promise it's not worth watching the mess that is this movie to get to this scene. Watch it on YouTube.
Try to just give a really awful description.
The description is that Sydney is watching the VHS tape, gets the big reveal, smash cut back to the jail cell with all the girl bosses, and they start bullying Madison like
hardcore.
Well, they like beat the shit out of her for no reason.
Yeah, they like completely, just because she looked, I guess, rich, because they were just saying
she like didn't
rich
fit
shit
in with
about her.
The hardcore crowd.
Yeah, which she kind of did. She looked like shit.
Yeah, no, she was intense in that scene. She looked intimidating, I think. Whatever. And so Gabriel wakes up and starts killing everybody in the jail cell in a very violent manner. I've heard people describe it as a Matrix fight scene. I've heard it described as a John Wick fight scene. It's neither of those. It's more like Blade.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Blade.
Yeah. I do understand the reference to John Wick and the Matrix, I will say.
Leather-clad person does acrobatics and fights people.
Yeah, and it's just and it's dumb. Because
in a
those
tracking
are
shot.
also...
It's a single tracking shot for the main scene.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So I get that comparison, but it's not as good.
I'm interested in the plot implications of this scene because not only does she kill everybody in the jail cell, or he then kills every single cop in Seattle.
Yeah, everyone in the precinct except for the 2 detectives and the other bitch that was hitting on Detective Shaw.
Yes, hot Asian detective man, sassy girl boss detective, and forensics detective are the only ones left. And this is hilarious. So, okay, as Gabriel is escaping the precinct, he grabs a wooden chair and throws it all the way across the room, hitting both hot detective man and girl boss detective.
He also he picked up a chair and locked hot detective's arm in it and then completely broke it. And then the next scene, it like wasn't broken.
That's true. I forgot about
they never
that.
went back to that. They were laying there, grabbing their sternums, being like...
do you remember the names of the detectives? I've forgotten again.
Moss and Shaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
So forensics girl comes into the room after Gabriel escapes and sees Moss and Shaw on the ground and says, "Detective Moss, oh no, Detective Shaw," and steps on Moss to get to Shaw.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
That's one of the funnier scenes in the movie. I don't know if that was meant to be as funny as it was.
That was just silly. That was really good. I appreciated that a lot.
It's a joke that just comes out of nowhere after what we've seen, and it elevates the viewing experience a little bit.
Yep, it definitely does.
So what's next? The mom is in the hospital bed, right?
Well, also they just figured out before all of the chaos went down, while they were still in the cell and she was like killing everyone, Shaw gets a call from Sydney and is like, blah blah blah, the Jane Doe that was in the hospital bed is her mom. And then Shaw's like, yeah, I know. And then he hangs up the phone because he hears the ruckus going upstairs. So that's what happens to lead up to that. So they're laying on the ground and Moss is like, go get her, go find her, go save whoever, go save the city.
Is that actually what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened. Moss looked at him and was like, you need to go get Madison.
No, Sydney calls, big reveal, response, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Was he doing research?
He found, he was. There was a split scene. That's what you were talking about. There was a very split second scene where it was revealed. I think he was looking through documents.
Okay, yeah.
And it got I don't know, something happened. There was some document.
Wait, he was looking at the documents from the first murder, the first doctor that got murdered, right? Those are the only ones he had.
No, and then Moss came up to him while they were just talking about something else. I think they were talking about Jane Doe, and showed the document of, this is the name of blah blah blah. It's Emily May there was a connection there.
Oh, okay. They got the ID of the Jane Doe, and that was what revealed it to him. Okay.
Yeah, and then...
Because he would have already had the
happened.
name Ashley May.
Exactly. So then, yeah, Sydney tells him, and then he's like, I gotta go find Madison. And then he doesn't have a broken arm anymore. So that's great.
Right,
I'm really happy for him. So apparently he's got healing powers.
Sydney shows up at the hospital where Ashley May, the mother, the real mother is.
Yeah.
While Gabriel's in the room about to kill her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then detective pulls up with a gun in the doorway.
Yeah, and doesn't do much.
And immediately gets murked.
Yeah, like immediately. The dagger gets thrown into his heart.
He's fucking dead.
I absolutely think so.
Gabriel throws the dagger so hard that it lifts him off his feet and smashes him against the wall behind him. Somehow not pinning him to the wall. It
was just really aggressive. Like there was no reason for him to die, but I guess...
See, that's the kind of physics you would see in a Blade movie, where people are just getting smacked around and gravity doesn't mean anything when you take a punch.
Yeah.
It's great.
Exactly. That's just so good. And then, fucking the mom, wakes up as Gabriel is destroying everyone and talking about how he's always wanted to kill Sydney because Sydney took the attention away from him.
Right.
And she's like...
Sibling.
Gabriel, no, my son, I should never have gotten rid of you. You're beautiful. I love you. And he's like, fuck you, Mom.
And then Sydney starts talking, right?
Yeah, and then he's still threatening her because it doesn't seem like he really gave a fuck what was happening. And then Sydney's like, wait, no, Madison, I know you're in there. He's been feeding off of your fetuses and has been the cause of your miscarriage, which no fucking shit. No shit.
Also, but how? Because he was in a coma in her brain. Right?
They say he needed to be awakened. Yeah, he needed to be awakened, but then again, he was feeding off of fetuses. What?
Yeah, I don't understand what it means that he's feeding off of fetuses, because if he's leaching nutrients from her body, her being pregnant doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. So that entire thing made no sense, and that was her reasoning for being able to take control of her body again, and that pisses me off.
Right. Oh, we should probably preface this. So, in the way that she has had the sleep paralysis scenes earlier in the movie, she is having one now, where she's in the room with the hospital watching Gabriel do all this. We're talking Madison is.
Yeah, she's still sitting in the jail cell. She doesn't know that any of this happened.
Does she not? I thought she's in the room now.
Oh, did she?
Her still sitting in the jail cell, I think, is happening while she's killing everybody in the police station.
Okay, and then it switches to her having one. It
switches back to her being standing in the hospital room with all these characters talking.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I actually don't... Wait, is there a missing transition there? At what point does she realize she's not in the jail cell?
You are right. That does... it does fade. Or she just shows up. I might be forgetting it. I think it fades.
It fades, yeah, because she's hearing Sydney's voice.
Yeah, and then she's back at the hospital with the mom and whatever, yeah.
Okay, and then Sydney makes the mistake of calling Madison her sister.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes Gabriel mad, and he says, she's not your sister, and he throws a hospital bed at Sydney, which is a moment of extreme strength.
Yeah, Incredible Hulk activated.
But Madison, standing there hearing that Gabriel is the reason she's been having miscarriages, is
that activated her mommy powers.
Yes. She goes
her MILF
sicko
powers. Mode. She really did.
And she takes back control of her body and her brain from Gabriel.
Yep.
And she pulls a reverse Uno card. Gabriel, you're actually in the Mind Palace now. And she makes him hallucinate.
That he killed everyone successfully.
And then it's her and Gabriel in the endless void of her thoughts having a little conversation. And this is the climactic moment, the face-off. And it's bad.
It's really bad. There was no climax to that. She's talking to him. She's like, this is my brain, and you won't be in control now. And she was just saying, gaslight gate queen girl boss.
Gate queen girl boss?
Gaslight gate queen girl boss. Whatever.
Shit, you're right.
She's being all cool and shit and telling him he's never going to be able to come back. And then she locks him in a jail cell in her brain. And he's like, you know you can't leave me in here forever. And she's like, yes, I know, but the next time you come out, I'll be ready.
Oh, it's so bad. I hated that scene. Because I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean anything.
How are you gonna be ready?
And then she takes control of her body. She locks him in the jail cell. She goes to Sydney, who's trapped under the hospital bed that's been launched at her. Sydney says
she anti-reverses herself.
Yes. She bends herself back the right way around.
There's literally a scene right after she locks him in the jail cell. It does the close-up of Gabriel's face, and it sucks itself back into her skull.
Oh, I forgot about this.
So every time she had woken up from her, daydream visions, as she thought, previously, there'd be blood on her head. So we are led to assume that every single night, Gabriel sucks himself back into her skull.
Yeah, it's like a physical zipper opens up on the back of her head, and his face pokes out. Yeah.
And there's just blood, but there's no, cut.
And Gabriel has a larva face, a meaty larva, slimy face.
Yeah,
and,
really icky.
And this is a degree of absurdity beyond what I am already uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no reason for her skull to quite literally split open to reveal the face.
No, especially when they had a scene of them reconstructing her skull.
Yes.
There's no physical way that could have happened the way it did.
And the thing is, the world is crazy. The Arkham Asylum comic book asylum is insane. But nothing is so absurd as to let something like this exist in this world.
Yeah. The world is crazy, but it's not this crazy.
The setting and the tone just don't fit this happening.
No, they don't. And then after she... Gabriel gets sucked back to her skull. She goes up to Sydney, and Sydney's like, you could get this hospital bed off me.
It's too heavy.
Yeah, and then Maddie's like, oh, well, wait, who said that?
Maddie said it. She's like, this is my body, too. If he could do it, so could I.
And then she just Superman lifts it off of her.
And that's the moment where I'm wondering, wait, are these, DC heroes that we're dealing with in this world?
Yeah. Why does she just have superpowers all of a sudden? Why does she have super strength?
And I was actually wondering that earlier in the movie, because I was like, wait, if she is literally Gabriel, that's just her body doing all this. But we also see her use electro powers in the interrogation room about 20 minutes before this.
Exactly, which means, what part of absorbing your twin in the wound gives you superpowers?
I don't think that's what it is. I think people are just born this way in this world.
Oh, by the way, we have successfully... That was the end of the movie. If you thought there was more, there's not. They hug, and then it ends.
Oh, yeah, they do hug. They don't address the fact that Officer Shaw is dying in the next room with a spear through his chest.
All of the Seattle police officers have been murked aggressively.
Also, I would like to point out that biological mom is in the room, in the hospital bed, while they're hugging it out. Does not make a sound. No one addresses her. Credits roll. No,
the only thing she had was that one monologue where she was fucking talking to Gabriel, being like, I've always loved you.
I never should have.
You'll always be my baby boy. Yeah, which, I could not give less of a fuck about this bitch.
No. Oh, God. It's so bad. Yeah.
Oh, my... So,
the thing that really sucks is the first half of this movie is boring, and the second half is stupid.
The second half makes no sense. And then the last part is just anticlimactic.
Okay, so here's what I really want to talk about. What changes need to be made for this to be a decent movie?
Ah, Lordy. So many. So many.
Well, let's start off. Let's give it a rating. Do I recommend this movie? No. If I had to give it an out of 10, I'd give it a 3. Because it's not complete garbage. 3 or 4. But it's it's competently made, but all the ideas are not pulled together properly.
Yeah, I'll give it a good 3.5 for the same reasons. I feel like there's enough details in it to the point where if you watched it, it's kind of fulfilling in the way of gives you something to make fun of. It's an entertaining shitty movie. It's something that you would, get drunk with your friends and watch.
Yes.
For giggles, for For real. You don't sit down and actually pay attention to this movie.
I don't know if I would even do that with this movie, though. Like,
but it's kind of fun.
I take it back. In comparison to other movies that I think are better for that sort of thing, I would probably never pick this one.
Yeah. But it's like a last option. It's definitely a last choice. Would I recommend it to anyone or in like my friends or just talk about it? No, absolutely not. I'm going to forget this movie exists right after we're done recording this. But
yeah,
it's there. And only because the cinematography it does make it kind of fun. Okay. It makes it a little funky. I liked the detectives. I think they pulled the movie in, and Sydney, the sister, she was a fun character. And I'm happy that they did focus on her as much as they did, because if they didn't, I would have been much more upset.
Yes. Okay, so fixes, little solutions to problems. Do you have any?
I would have gotten rid of the entire first scene.
Yes.
The abusive husband scene in the beginning was just an exhausting first scene. It didn't make any sense. It was aggressive and there was no need for it, because I didn't have any emotional connection to these characters. It was just like, why am I seeing domestic violence happening?
I don't know if they should remove that or just make the whole movie about that.
I would have been fine if they kept him alive.
I feel like he dies way too early.
He did. He died way too early, to the point where like I didn't get, like, it felt unneeded. It felt like they were just adding that for shock value, and I don't like when they do that.
But it does tie into their version of the story. It just happens so fast that I am like shell-shocked and I don't know what I just saw.
There were just so many parts. The blaming for the miscarriages, the abuse, the like, she was already feeling achy, the blood, it was just so much details.
Yeah.
That they were shoving down your throat at once. And I think they should have lengthened that.
It's kind of expository.
For a while.
Like, he's just saying plot points, but he's being a abusive husband about it.
Exactly. I think they could have either removed that and had her be single and had that like altercation already have happened, and then her maybe like fall downstairs or something, something, an injury that she did to herself, and that's what happened.
Well, okay, let's back up. One more flaw that I have with the movie that I think this is really important. The fact that Gabriel is hunting down all these doctors and hunts down the biological mom and all this, literally the day after he's awoken from his, I guess, infinite sleep in her brain.
Yeah.
When did he have time to research all these people and figure out where they were and find them and hunt them down?
Apparently he's like turning Madison into this creature and then sitting in the attic. But yeah, when was that? When did he have time to do this? When did he build an attic?
Did Madison even know there was an attic up there?
I don't think she did.
If they share a brain, he seems to have way more knowledge of things that she doesn't know about, which shouldn't be possible if they have the same mind.
Brings it back into, like, I think part of what this movie feels like is they wanted to make a paranormal movie.
Yes.
But then they also wanted to make like this twin movie, and they were like, hey guys, what if we just combine the ideas but don't explain?
That's what I keep telling people. You can see the seams between multiple script ideas.
Mm-hmm. Very, very aggressively.
I refuse to believe that this was a single idea that was thought out. I think
there's no way.
They took a bunch of ingredients from different ideas and combined them. There's too much going on.
There's way too much.
Okay, so fixes. I'm more interested in like mechanical fixes. Like, how would we fix the superpower problem with our killer? Because it doesn't make sense that he has these powers.
Either I want more discussion on how he can control electronics, because that is cool. That's a cool thing to do. And if it was like directly linked to the electroshock therapy, I would have been fine with that. But I didn't like that they didn't explain it and they didn't utilize it more. That should have been either a bigger part of the story, or it shouldn't have been there. Because I hate when they add things just so they can get one specific scene where the lights go out.
Yeah, the mechanics of that don't really make sense it's not relevant to the plot. It doesn't really add anything except for creepy radio voice and lights turning off.
Exactly. And that is so cheap.
Which is a ghost thing. Light, electronics turning on and off is a ghost movie thing, right? So that's why they put it in. It has to be.
But it makes it cheap, like, completely, because it's like you're adding this element in, but you don't even know what you're doing with your own story. Like, it doesn't
It doesn't connect to anything in a meaningful way. Like, And I'm calling him like a superhero. The movie doesn't make it clear that that's what's going on. For some reason, he is very strong.
And that's another thing. That's another part of it. That really does not make any sense. Because they could have tied that in to her as a child with like videotapes or something. If they had her being strong randomly throughout it,
Yeah.
that would have been a really amazing hint at them being conjoined. And that would have been, honestly, I feel like that would have fixed a lot of issues.
Well, there is a line in the one videotape where they're like, hey, you hurt some of our doctors. And how'd you do that? And she says, Gabriel makes me strong. I don't know what that means.
Exactly. That was the only time they hinted at it. That's so weak. They could have done more.
Is he
They could have done
literally
more.
a demon child that was her twin? Is that what they're going with?
And then they also kept calling him, referencing him as the devil.
Right. So they're adding...
And there was some kind of Christian like undertone to the like beginning of that and her life story itself. So they are adding that like paranormal demon element, but then they don't ever follow through with it fully because that doesn't make sense.
I think something was cut because I'm thinking about this now, and the mom, Ashley, who gave birth at 15, she was the victim of a sexual assault, which led to these children being born. Do you think there was lore with whoever that was? The father?
Probably. There probably could have been.
Was he like a cult leader or something? Like that?
That would have made sense.
That would have
made
at
a lot
least
of sense.
given us a link to a paranormal element.
Yeah. I think that would be a way that you could fix the movie.
That would actually solve a lot. Yeah, let's do that. Let's expand that.
Expand that. Get rid of the I hated that scene. I don't care. Have her fall down a flight of stairs. That I would have rather had her just be single. It was stupid. I wish she would have just been like a single mom or something. Whatever. She gets her skull cracked open, then weird shit starts happening.
Listen,
that would have been smooth.
We're domestic abuse appreciators here, and we don't like low quality domestic abuse in our films. Only the best.
Don't make it cheap. We don't need any of your cheap shit around here, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Sick of it.
Okay, so that would actually solve a lot of plot points. Expand backwards her lineage and give her like a connection to some sort of like spiritual mystic or a cult leader or something.
Yeah, because you don't even really need to explain much after that. If you just add a cult into a story, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It all just like it makes sense even if it doesn't, because you're able to like just fill in gaps. And that's another thing. Like even in my fucking freshman writing class, they taught us when you're writing, you want to also be the reader and you want everything to matter.
Yes.
Make everything matter.
Look at every sentence without the knowledge of what structurally you know is coming ahead of it.
Yeah.
Because that's how the reader is going to consume it.
Yeah, don't see it as a creator. See it as the audience that is going to be viewing it.
Fresh eyes all the time.
It felt like this was just seen in the creator's eyes.
Yeah.
It felt like he understood what was going on. We had no idea.
That's what I get the sense that there is a vision here. Like there was an idea here that wasn't put together very well. And because of that, it feels like there was no vision. But I'm seeing little cracks that tell me there's something good here.
Yeah, there was some story. There was some cohesive storyline, but it was not implied enough.
Okay, add that storyline would fix a lot. Shave like 20 minutes out of the movie. I don't care where. Just shorten this movie up.
Just get rid of it.
Tighten it up. It's too loose.
The scenes don't have to be that long. You don't have to add that many longing looks. Just get it over with. Come on.
Even like that dramatic scene where they say Gabriel and the adopted mom is like, it's like they zoom into her face for just a few seconds
like
too long.
30 seconds?
That's too long for this. This should have been 93 minutes with credits.
Which is so... that's insane. Because I will be honest, I thought it was 2 hours long.
Okay, so make the movie shorter. Yeah. Add some more personality to our characters so it's not just sad, droopy Madison.
Yeah, yes, please. Madison was boring. She was just depressed.
Her acting was great. Her character was not.
Yeah, oh my god, she did it beautifully. Like, she was very stoic because her character was supposed to be stoic and it was supposed to be, like, straight to the point. But the writing of Madison herself is fucking awful. Like, with all these other slightly whimsical characters, because everyone else did have their own, like, full personality. She had nothing.
Yes, I agree.
She was bland, she was boring, I want more. Especially because as a kid, she seemed to have more personality than she did as an adult.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was them portraying her as someone going through trauma. You know, she had a miscarriage, her husband died, her abusive husband died, but that's still traumatic to lose someone.
But she didn't, I don't know.
But also, she had nothing interesting to say for the whole movie.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't really say anything. She didn't say much.
No. So add some personality to the character. Maybe some whimsy, maybe some struggle, like expressed well.
Yeah, and also, if they didn't, once again, I'm going back to that first scene. If that first scene wasn't there, then I feel like the more struggle would have hit. Like, the struggle would have actually hit different.
Yeah. The movie has, like, 3 different tones that it establishes. There's that first scene where it's crazy, like, B-movie, sci-fi channel nonsense.
There's
the domestic abuse scene, which is, I don't know, it's like it's shot like a Lifetime movie or something.
It's shot like we're in the 5th season of a TV series, like a drama TV series. And we're supposed to know these characters and love these characters and know exactly what's going on when we have no fucking clue what's going on.
And that's a hard tonal shift from the scene right before it. And then
it really
we get that first murder scene, which is another tonal shift into like a slasher, like a gore slasher.
Yep.
So establish a better tone, I think.
Yeah, I think they should have made it more silly.
Do you think a better version of the movie would have more Matrix-style fight scenes or less?
More.
I think I agree.
I think that movie should have gone full, like, chaos stupid. I think it should have not have taken itself seriously, because you can tell it was trying to. I don't think it should have. I think it just should have been whimsy and stupid and very gory, and it should have been over the top. I could have taken it more seriously if it was over the top, especially
because it would have been
fun. And you have this super powerful supervillain. Like, that's sick. In hindsight, it is kind of cool.
Do you think there's a certain other movie that I'm kind of reminded of? Brightburn.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking of.
Should this have been just another version of that, but like less on the fear side, more on the over the top, like gore side?
I think definitely, and in the similar way that Brightburn does, but without the realisticness of it, because I was fine with them doing the SFX, like fake blood. I think that
for what they were doing, that was fine.
It matched the movie, it made it funny, and it made it entertaining. I think they should have done the Brightburn over the top gore with that element in it. Not as serious as Brightburn was, but still keep it, like, just so much. Keep it over the top.
I agree.
That is and I usually don't like, I don't know, can I say gore on YouTube?
Yeah, probably. I'll censor it.
I don't know how else to describe it, but I usually don't like gore porn.
Well, that can mean 2 different things.
Exactly.
That can mean like the Saw franchise, which is just built on violent murder, right?
Yeah.
Or it can, the funner, more like slasher movies like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, which are very gory.
Exactly. And honestly, I would have taken either one of those takes with it.
I guess it could also refer to like the absurd movies like August Underground, like the super...
Yeah. But that's on its own...
Super edgy movies.
That's its own thing, I feel like. I don't think it could have gone to that level.
No, if it was an over-the-top action, like a dark action movie with aggressive violence and blood that was all CGI, do it like Blade. Blade has a lot of very dark tonal stuff going on, but it's also fun.
Exactly.
And it's hilarious. I thought this movie was hilarious. Maybe I should have leaned into that.
It was so funny. Yeah, I think if they just made it a kind of comedic, give it some comedy elements. And then hide it behind a really dark story. They should have rooted that
in the personalities of the characters, though, so that they're more humanized.
Exactly, I agree with that.
And then I think the climax was garbage. I want to talk about this for a second. The scene where she's exiting the giant Mind Palace prison cell with like bars as far as your eye can see. She locks him in and she's like, "I'll be ready for you next time." That's absolutely not the way to handle that scene.
No, it's not. I wish she would have died. I wish she would have died in the end of the movie. She should
have sacrificed herself to kill Gabriel. Like,
because you have it felt like they were building up to that too. Because you have this really depressed character who has lost everything in her life. She's an orphan. She keeps losing her babies. It would have made sense for her character, especially as stoic and sad as she was throughout the entire thing, to do a self-sacrifice.
Yes. So
It would have been honorable.
when Sydney said he's been eating your fetuses for nutrients or whatever she said, and that was enough to make her angry. I think she should have like been able to just barely get a hold of her body. She could have gone into the mind palace with her and Gabriel, and Gabriel has had way more practice in this space. He can control the body and the mind better than she can because he's been doing it forever,
ever since he was born.
Yeah. So she can't overpower him here, but she's able to, by willpower and passion and love for her unborn children, get just control of her little finger, her
because
just one hand.
The hand was already, like, Gabriel was already holding a gun up to Sydney's head. The scene was the perfect setup for that moment.
Yes, and she should have been able to pull her finger off the trigger, preventing him from shooting Sydney, and then pulled the gun to her own head and killed Gabriel to save Sydney. That makes sense. They set it up because Gabriel is the evil sibling and Sydney is the sibling that she loves. So it's the perfect dichotomy for the theme of this rivalry, which they kind of hinted at only in that scene, that Gabriel hates Sydney as a rival sibling.
Yeah.
If that would have added so much heart.
That would have made, I honestly could have forgiven the movie a little bit.
And it also
that would have happened.
Would have helped with the fact that she did just murder every single cop in Seattle.
Exactly. No, literally.
What is she supposed to do with her life now?
Sister's potential boyfriend.
Oh no.
No matter, like, the movie ends and you're left with, well, this bitch is gonna go to jail for the rest of her life, and this city is completely fucked.
Security camera tape of her killing everyone.
The next 20 years go by, and then this is gonna happen again. Like, what? That's not a good ending. That doesn't make me, as a viewer, feel good. That makes me feel upset.
God, now I'm just upset thinking about it. But I think this is what happened in my head canon. I gaslit myself into witnessing this version of the movie.
I'm gonna write a Wattpad story and just change the ending. It'll be the exact same script, and then the ending's gonna be different.
Yo, let's do it. We should get some action figures and make like a stop motion version of the ending.
Like a claymation,
like a robot
of just
chicken
the
scene.
Ending. Yeah, exactly. I think that would have been better. Can we just have the movie and then have that ending happen? Like, and I need it to be in the shittiest quality of stop motion clay animation.
Yes, absolutely. Literally Clay World with Robert Benford.
Pretty much.
Okay, so final
in
thoughts
conclusion,
on the movie.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
Please,
it's bad.
Don't watch this movie.
Do not make
watch
a sequel.
this video. Don't. Oh my god, I swear to God. If in 5 years a sequel gets made of this dumb fucking movie.
Well, we just got another Insidious, so you never know. And another Conjuring is coming. The Nun 2 is coming.
Oh my god, I didn't know about that.
Yep.
Oh no, I'm upset.
Okay, well, thanks for coming to our TED Talk.